Okay, so I would love to read more stories to you today, but the news is doing something bizarre. They're paying too much attention to the Republican Party, and their whatever their big party that they're having, their convention, and the Democrats are about to come up, and then they'll take a little break, and then they'll go into debates and stuff like that, right? And then we'll just all be arguing about debates, and then voting time will come, and we'll be through this thing, and we won't have to listen to any more fucking Donald Trump's bullshit. Okay, but with the marijuana thing, the air has completely been let out of the balloon on prohibition here because no one is arguing against marijuana legalization. I mean, especially in California, literally no one has the money, no one has the backing. Santa Barbara is about to vote on a marijuana tax, and that's a city right next to where I live. It's 40 miles away. And another reason why Santa Barbara, even though they have the shittiest fucking traffic on earth, is still kicking ass on a community that has good access, and the home prices are higher in Ventura because you have good access to the freeway. But Santa Barbara is a more pleasant place to live. There's more culture there and stuff. This place is too kind of Van-tucky. Bang, 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 ding, 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 ding. It's that kind of thing. There's a little bit too, like they think if we move Brooks Institute and stuff down on Main Street, they think this is a big, like, now we're something, or I don't know what they're thinking. They're idiots. The town just seems to be just absolutely chock full of morons. Anyway, so I've been looking at the news, and since this weekend, and nothing but a story about how much weed is in an average joint is everywhere. What the fuck? What the fuck is this? Really? And I love this one. Okay, I love it. It's the Daily Mail, okay? Live Science and Fox 21. I mean, not like International Business Times. These aren't like real, high end news outlets here, especially the Daily Mail. This is just funny as shit to me. And this is what's trending. Everybody wants to know how much weed is in a joint. I'm not even going to read it. It's too stupid to even read for a stoner. I can't. Sorry. I can't even do it. It's too dumb. How much weed is in a joint? Ask Urban Remo. You can double up the papers, dickhead. Hello and welcome to this edition of Wake and Bake News, as thin as it is today. And I'm your host, Shampoo VTA Kelly Davis, and how are you? I think we're going to end up spending more time talking about my guitar than we're going to be talking about the news. Everything has vanished, just fucking vanished. The arguments, the debates have all just fucking vanished, disappeared, poof, into nothingness. A lot of it has to do with because the Republican convention's been going on and people are talking about that. The Democratic convention's about to go on, and I expect to see some real positive marijuana news out of that and some good images, because the Democrats will want to kind of invite their, hey Tiki, their marijuana activists that they're now supporting, like us, maybe in on this, and even if they don't invite us onto the floor, they could at least take photographs or have meetings or talk to high ranking members or something like that on the issue of legalization. It's tough though, because there's so much stigmatism that it's very difficult to have Hillary Clinton stand with anybody that's pro marijuana without that seriously hurting her candidacy, because they're going to look for anything on that woman. I mean, I don't know. After a while, it just gets really super old, soap opera. Okay, so I'll show you what I got today. I'm smoking. I made a keef puck, another keef puck. See, there's what's left of it. The keef puck, it's all keef. It was a thick one too. Right, so that's what I got from the leaves, just using my grinder, right? So I use a food processor and then I use my grinder. And I picked out some of the crappy buds. At least had some buds on there. And I made a lot of keef. I was like, whoa, that's cool. And I've been breaking off little chunks and, mixing it with the weed and smoking that. And yeah, my brothers were right. This is stony weed. It just doesn't taste good, All right. And I still have a little wax in the bottom of my pan. See? A little bit of wax still. The weed in the keef ball, keef brick has been doing good for me, so I didn't need to get into that too much. I did some guitar practicing yesterday and stuff, so. And I've been working on cleaning up the house a little bit, which is not I'm not a house cleaner, okay? I'm not like the girl that's good at housework. I'm the girl who used to play football with the boys and work on cars and stuff. Doing dishes and shit is not my forte. Not that people that work on cars are incapable of doing dishes. I'm just saying it's not mine particularly. I've done a lot of dishes, but I'm not necessarily the greatest at it or keeping up on it. My husband is so much more diligent in the kitchen than I am, and a better cook, frankly. Frankly, my husband's a better cook. There's one thing he learned from his stint in jail and the military that actually taught him something cool. He learned how to cook. And this thing's still going, and I haven't charged it. And I was worried, like it didn't have enough juice. Okay. Oh, I got 11 views on my video yesterday, so thank you guys for watching the shit that I'm putting out. It's a little bit, tiny bit frustrating and exhilarating because there's a part of me that goes, there's nothing to fight today. There's nothing to scream at. I got to turn to Black Lives Matter to scream at something. I'm not getting my dose of screaming. But I'm like, that's actually wonderful. And I remember watching other battles like this turn where it's just you're just going to get radio silence from the other side because they're on the run right now. They would say something if they weren't on the move, and that includes the DEA. I'll bet you the DEA is not saying anything because their ass is on the move right now trying to figure out how they're going to fucking save themselves from this thing they're about to do, one way or the other. They have to save them. Either they're going to look like dinosaurs and continue to become entrenched in Washington with their attitudes, or they change and admit they're wrong, or they pick a third thing that's going to look smarmy and smart ass and like they're trying to be tricksy. So it's any move they make right now is bad. They're checkmated. That's what I think. I think that's why Elizabeth Warren and those guys can make a name for themselves by continually probing them to ask them what's going on with, rescheduling, because it makes it look like they're heroes. I certainly am like, yeah, go Elizabeth, get them. She's not really doing anything. She's just writing them a letter. Hey, what's going on with that shit? How come this is taking so fucking long? Makes her look like a hero. Makes him look like a heel. Simple thing to do. I did want to bring up one story I read. I think it was Kansas. The police officers held a barbecue with poor black community members. And that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Instead of going to the richy rich white areas and having a fucking block party, Why don't you start mending the relationship you have with those poor communities and stop treating them like they're aliens and doing what Richie White Boy wants you to do? Richie White Boy's an asshole, and Richie White Boy would have you fucking replaced if he had an opportunity. Donald Trump would have you all replaced if he had an opportunity. One of his favorite words is sentences is "you're fired," right? Well, wouldn't you think he'd like to fire you? Oh, he'll be like, "That's my best friend. Get rid of him." Yeah. Oh, take a picture together. Yes, okay. Have him shot. I'm Donald Trump. Yeah. Hey guys, come on. He would totally, just like any employee, just like any boss, just throw you right under the wheels of that bus. Boom, 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 right over top of you. Oh, don't be stupid. That man is not your friend. Rich man is not your friend, okay? Rich man is not your friend. Rich man is not here to help you. Rich man is not here to give you something. Rich man is here to figure out how to take and take and take and take and get for himself and pay a lesser price. How do you think they all fucking get rich? The art of the deal, right? Well, who do you think gets fucked on that deal? That would be you. Okay. So the first story I'm going to read to you today is not about Donald Trump and not about Black Lives Matters. And I did kind of try to build it up. So we're going to kind of go up, down, and then back up again. So the first one, some stoners may not like this, but I think it's fabulous. Los Angeles board approves marijuana tax to help homeless. Okay. I think that if we do this, this is giving us an opportunity. It's just like if stoners were drafted into the military like gays, you're taking on a public responsibility and proving that you can be a responsible citizen and you can help our society become better. And anytime that somebody gives you the opportunity to take on a job that they refuse to take, you fucking take on that job and you shine at that job. Rich men don't want to take on this job, and the government doesn't want to take on this job, and the church has used it as a recruiting device. Now we could step up. I think we could save the world. I think that this plant and who we are and what our motivations are could really save a lot of people. And if those dumb bitches want to give us the reins of power to do that, let's do that. And money and taxes is power. And you may not like paying that extra price. I understand that. But once they start feasting off of your taxes, they're never going to want them to stop. And that gives you political power. And what you say matters then. A lot more than rich man that didn't pay to fix this issue. Will there be a bureaucracy? Of course there will. When is there not a bureaucracy? Insist on oversight. Hello. This is part of responsibility, you know. So I'm going to read this here to you, and I think it's overall very positive. And like I said, when rich man or the government says, I don't want to do a job, you rush right in there and you fucking pick up that job and you go, I'll do it. And I'll do it like a champ. Because next time they hire somebody, they'll think about you. Because you weren't too snotty or snooty or something to fucking walk away like that job was, I don't want to do that. And 3 groups have walked away from that. The church, the government, and the rich. Yeah, I think we can save the world. I think this is our end. Let's do this. TheWeedBlog.com. Los Angeles Board approves marijuana tax to help homeless. Los Angeles Board of Supervisors voted to approve a ballot measure that would funnel medical marijuana tax proceeds to combat the epidemic of homelessness in the area recently. There has been a 12% increase in homelessness around the area, and the proposed tax would allow Los Angeles to undergo a nearly $2 billion housing project. The board voted in the measure with a 3-2 count. Those opposing the initiative hold the belief that the measure would ultimately hurt patients who really rely on medical marijuana because of the increased price. In order for California to implement the measure, a two to three vote in favor of the tax is needed. Since voters on tax increases of any kind typically see a poor approval rating leading into elections, the measure's fate is uncertain. Californians have now been placed in a moral conundrum. Do you want to help the less fortunate, or at the cost of the sick, or would you rather help the sick at the cost of the less fortunate? Not an easy problem to face in a voting booth. To be honest with you, it's a false choice, because there's obviously, you could tax the rich. Why aren't you taxing the rich? I actually think it's a good thing they're not taxing the rich. And in a way, I know that that would increase the cost of marijuana for a patient, but I'm actually 110% for this, because I think marijuana patients and users can do this. I think we can save the fucking world. I think we can stop global warming. I think that we can help reduce the effects of aging. I think that we can help save people from Alzheimer's. We can help people with epilepsy. It may, lengthen your life, Okay, so if Rich Man doesn't want to take up the banner on this one, then so much for Rich Man, because quite frankly, like I've said before, I think they're all being corralled. There ain't enough rich people in this world to fit on the head of a pin. What the hell makes them think they're safe? They're not. The fall of Rome is coming. Anybody can see that. Rich Man never escapes that. Rich Man is completely tied to the society where the riches come from. Once the society changes, Rich Man can't hold on. So I'm all for this. I think this is great. We can do this. We are exactly the people to do this. Not only that, we could build houses out of hempcrete. We could literally take the pollutants out of the atmosphere that is destroying our ozone layer. We could help the homeless situation. We're already helping medically. We're already reducing costs. I think honestly, a stoner is the savior of the world, not the rich man. They didn't even mention Rich Man here. They want the poor and the sick to save themselves. Well, you know what? I think reality has given us the ability to do that. And that's something Rich Man didn't bank on. And now Rich Man's going to find out. Stepping back and letting a stoner take over was probably a dumb fucking idea. Because we're going to be good at it. Really good. If passed, the measure is estimated to generate approximately $130 million a year in tax revenue that would be directly applied to buildings, the housing project, treatment facilities, and subsidies for low-income housing, although tax revenue would not be able to be collected until 2018. But after 2018, think about this, going 2019, 2020, 2022, and these buildings start to be worked on and established, people in the area will see it happening. They'll know where the tax money's coming from, and they'll know Rich Man didn't pay for it, and neither did the government. You know who paid for it? Stoners. Yeah. I think those fools are going to let us step right in and save the world. And they think we can't do it. I think they're stupid. Yeah, whenever somebody doesn't want a job, you take it. You don't sit there going, no, I don't want that job either. No, you take that job. Rich Man, the government don't want this job. I'll take it right away from them. I'll be happy to. We'll be happy to do that. Hope I'm smoking on camera and looking at my stuff. I'm talking. I gotta go back here. Oh no. This is where my the bird kept interrupting me. I have to look at my Microsoft encoder because I did not post this story up on my Tumblr. Sometimes I get reading and I don't do that extra step of putting on my Tumblr because I want to try to keep all the stories that I do read on my Tumblr. Nope, not that one. And this program's a little sketchy wetchy here. It's a little silly willy. Okay, here we go. It's California cops fear rise of big marijuana. Now, here's the thing about this article. It's more like a monstrosity. It's a Frankenstein monster of articles that have been slapped together to create this. And I pointed out right away that I'm like, is there even an author for this article? Because this is just literally glommed from things, like I've taken part of this and part of that and part of this. And now that's not an unreasonable way to write an article, but once I start reading through it, you'll realize these are kind of more like disjointed sentences. However, I do believe that the writer is attempting, because there is an author, in some haphazard way to create a narrative that these are the events under which we are legalizing right now. And this is the flavor of the ice cream. See, that's what I think he's trying to point out. So he's going to point to a bunch of different issues. This isn't just about cops fearing marijuana. It starts out that way, but then it goes into a bunch of other crazy things that are somewhat related, not related, kind of related. You judge for yourself. Like I said, the news is petering the fuck out on marijuana. You wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't believe it. California cops fear rise of big marijuana. Legalization troubles some cops. LA Weekly asked cops why they oppose the Adult Use of Marijuana Act, AUMA, California's rec ballot initiative. This is not a law enforcement jihad or reefer madness, Ken Corney, Ventura Police Chief and President of the California Police Chiefs Association, said. Proposition 64 isn't about green leafy marijuana that people smoke at home or pass across the aisle at a concert. In other words, white people. It's a for-profit play to bring the commercialization of marijuana to California. The piece continues. Corney subscribes to the theory, so far unproven, that the proposition's biggest financial backer, Holmby Hills tech billionaire Sean Parker, is in it to open the doors to big marijuana profits for rich folks like himself. The group, Law Enforcement Against Prohibition, endorses, or AUMA. Okay. 3 Santa Ana, California cops who were caught on video last year snacking and mocking an amputee, I was about to kick her in the fucking nub, during the dispensary raid, are no longer with the department. The Orange County District Attorney's Office has filed petty theft charges against the 3 officers. The 3 had argued that they believed police had already disabled all of the cameras and therefore had a reasonable expectation that their conversations and actions were no longer being recorded. Artway, Colorado State Director of Drug Policy Alliance writes, those with a vested interest in the devaluation of Black lives and the criminalization of Black communities need the drug war for political cover. Those who want to end state-sanctioned murders should consider joining forces to end the drug war. Okay, wait, let's stop right there. So remember that Ken Corney said, this is not a drug that you smoke alone at home or pass at a concert. He's not talking about Mexican people. He's not talking about Black people. How do I spell out for you that this is a racist place? And a lot of white people here are very well-meaning, but dumb as a fucking stump to the fact that they are racist imbeciles. The words that came out of his mouth tell me he has no interest in busting white people at concerts for smoking weed or busting white people at home for smoking pot. What he has a vested interest in is stopping this marijuana from preventing him and his officers from basically swinging their dicks around and smashing everything in sight. And then he goes, this is not reefer madness. Okay, and another thing about this guy is he's a fucking PR expert, okay? His fucking college degree is actually in, or whatever, his education is in public relations and communication, okay? So he's the guy, he's a cop. He went back to college. He got this job, obviously, so he wouldn't have to be a fucking cop anymore. And now he goes around, blah, 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 spewing stuff. And the idiot is just like every other, and I've known plenty of them, you know, middle-class white male in Ventura County that is a dipshit moron that has no clue he's a fucking racist and thinks he's a good guy, but has no clue that everything flowing out of their dumb faces is racist and dumb and stupid and ignorant. Ken Corney dresses nice. He wears, I even saw him at the hospital lecture about medical marijuana, the efficacy of medical marijuana. He wore a little like sports jacket, so he looked all like he, you know, I'm a person too, you know, and then leaned against the podium like John Wayne, talking like John Wayne. The guy is totally a relic. That's what you're seeing. We're still using the old rotary phone, Mom. It's time to get a push button because the rotary phone don't work anymore. And that's what I'm talking about. Those that have a vested interest in devaluation of Black lives, Hispanic lives, poor lives, homeless lives, yes, especially Black lives. Yes, those are the police. But those fucking morons go home and they think they are the most wonderful, upstanding person on earth. And they're not. A lot of them aren't. Come on, get real. If your attitude is that this is not about stopping some guy from smoking a joint at a fucking Who concert, this is about, what is it about then? You mean a white guy watching a concert smoking weed? Because the concert comment was totally about white affluent people, wasn't it? Or college teenagers, wasn't it? College age kids. That's exactly what that comment was aimed towards. Oh, you white people don't have to worry about me. Yeah. Yeah, you don't got to tell me where I live, boy. I know. I've had to listen to the bullshit. And then people go, I'm not racist. Oh, son, no, you are. You're just too fucking dumb to know it. And with all that education, you're so fucking stupid. This is a war waged to keep the black, brown, and poor disadvantaged, poor and disenfranchised, all while using their bodies as commodities for a prison industrial complex similar to the human modification witnessed during slavery. Ken Corney ain't so shiny now, is he? I don't know if Ken understood he was stepping into a gigantic racial issue when he opened his dumb, fucking, half-assed educated fucking mouth on this issue. If he had known that this was going to turn into a giant, you're a racist bat that was going to pound him flat no matter how he tried to come off like the most fair John Wayne on earth. Dude, you fucking walked right into that one. Why do you have your job? Why do you have your job? Is my question. Why do you have your job right now? Time for someone to retire. A small but growing number of Canadian RCMP officers, the equivalent of the FBI agency, are getting their reimbursed by the government. In the Philippines, imprisoned drug lords have raised a $21 million reward for whoever kills the country's new president, Rodrigo Duterte, whatever. For his part, Duterte offers bounties of $1 million for drug lords killed and $600,000 for drug lords captured. Yeah, and isn't that fun that all the normal people get to be in the middle of that fucking mess? Legalize. Let's just stop watching the gargantuans fight in the middle of our fucking town. Why would you even want to be under the feet of that shit? Why are you standing there watching? Take those bitches down before they fucking stomp everything flat with their dumb fucking stupid war. According to his administration, 75% of the drugs in the country were manufactured inside its largest prison. Industry hub Pueblo, Colorado has seen quite a few drug busts. A Pennsylvania man has been charged with abuse of a corpse after blending weed with brain embalming fluid. That was all completely unrelated things. No author. You notice? No author. Oh, by Alex Halperin. Really? How come your article seems to be a bunch of different things? I mean, I get it that you're trying to create a narrative that this is where we're at right now. But it's a very disjointed article. Though, and I could tell right away that you lifted the entire thing from Ken Corney from a previous that guy's probably already talking about his retirement. I'll bet you $1 million after he came out with this, I represent the union and this is what we think. I'll bet you he's like, oh shit, I'm getting ready to retire. And I bet you he's not the only police officer. I bet you there's a lot of older cops who are like, well, time to retire. Yeah, I think it is time for you to retire. Probably a good choice. It's so interesting that this guy put all these different ideas together, that the things that other people said about how police officers that are against legalization or regulation of a recreational market are basically, they're upset because you're taking money out of their pocket. I mean, that's what Ken Corney says directly. This is a money grab. Really? Who are you grabbing money from? Because I think it's you. Because who else preys on those communities? And then they're not getting anything out of it. They're not getting a relief for their pain or a momentary high so they can watch a movie after work and relax. No, they're getting a night in jail and they're getting fucking $4,000 tickets or crazy shit or a record or something like that. So what is it exactly are you offering with your product that makes up for all the fucking pain in the ass? Because I don't see a payoff there. So money grab, yes. This is the entire concept of disruptive technology, of disruptive times, of disruptive businesses, all right? If you have a business model that is old and failing and you are not producing, you will be replaced by something else that will come up, that will produce like a motherfucker, and you will stand there. I mean, what are you, John Henry? When John Henry was a little baby, sitting on his daddy's knee. He picked up a hammer and a little piece of steel and said, I'm gonna, okay, see, bullshit, what are you gonna fight the steam fucking engine here? And then one day they brought that fucking steam engine, and John Henry almost had a heart attack trying to beat the thing. Chug, steam engines fucking choo. If you don't know the song in John Henry, okay, I should probably just play some for you. I don't think the Smothers Brothers is going to get me a copyright strike.
John Henry. John Henry, that's a name that's gonna live forever because he was one of the greatest heroes this country ever had. He was the greatest steel driver that ever swung a hammer. In fact, he swung 2 hammers. John Henry was so powerful, he had a hammer in each hand. And he was a hero when this great country needed a great hero.
He was a giant of a man.
John Henry was a powerful man. John Henry was the most powerful steel driver that ever swung 2 hammers.
He was a giant of a man.
And John Henry was a powerful, big man. And when
he was a giant of a man.
John Henry was a giant of a man.
Drive on, John! When John Henry was a little baby sitting on his daddy's knee. Picked up a hammer, little piece of steel, and said, "This hammer be the death of me, Lord, Lord, Lord. Hammer be the death of me." Oh, yeah, John Henry was a poor boy, poor boy. Only things he ever had were the makings of a legend, a little piece of steel, and the hammer he got from his dad, Lord, Lord, Lord. Hammer he got from his dad. Oh, yeah. You know, some people believe that John Henry was born with a hammer in his hand. Lord, Lord. Of course, there are some people who say they've seen a chicken with lips. Well, John Henry was born down in West Virginia, in the hills of West Virginia, right around Big Bend Tunnel. And folks down that way they still swear they can still hear John Henry's hammers echoing through those hills. Whop, 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 whop. See, John Henry got his first hammer from his daddy. He was just a little fella, and his daddy gave him a little kitchen hammer, and John Henry just grabbed that hammer and started hammering on things. See, a wise man once said that when a child first discovers a hammer, the whole world becomes a nail. And sure enough, John Henry just went around hammering on everything. He'd hit the kitchen sink, whop, 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 and hitting the pans, whop, 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 and banging the little girl next door's door. Whop, 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 whop. Good Lordy.
Yes, good Lordy.
Well, John Henry, he started growing in size, and he started growing in stature, and
So did his hammer.
so did his hammer. Because his daddy kept giving him a bigger hammer good Lordy, by the time John Henry was 15 years old, he done hammered everything there was in town. And his daddy, Henry, said, "John Henry, it's about time you start working on the railroads, driving steel like your father." And sure enough, at 15 years old, John Henry started driving steel on the railroad, and 2 short years, he was driving steel faster than any 10 men. Yes, John Henry was driving. It was also the time of greatness in this country, 1868. The time of the transcontinental railroads, April 4th, 1868. Exactly 100 years to the day of our cancellation.
This was also the time of the Industrial Revolution, and John Henry became a legend of this great conflict.
One day, the captain, head of all the railroad workers, one day, the captain of all the railroad workers walked up to John Henry and said, "John Henry, I'm bringing a steam drill round, automatic steel driver. It's gonna drive steel faster than any man ever could." Well, John Henry heard this, and he didn't say nothing. He just walked up to the captain, and in front of all his fellow railroad workers, John Henry, he said to the captain, "Man ain't nothing but a man. Before I let your steam drill beat me down, I'm gonna die with a hammer in my hand, Lord, Lord, Lord. Die with a hammer in my hand." Oh. And sure enough, the very next day, they arranged a race between John Henry and that steam drill. Well, every man in the railroad territory was out there that day because they knew if John Henry lost that race, well, they were all out of a job. Well, over there stood that steam drill, big shiny smokestack sticking up in the air, and well, the captain, he walked over to that steam drill and kind of smiled, and then looked over at John Henry. "You ready, boy?" Well, I swear you could hear a pin drop that day, because John Henry, he didn't say nothing. He just spit on his hands, picked up those 2 9-pound hammers. Shut up. He walked over to the starting line. The captain pulled out a pistol, pointed up in the air, and shot it off, and started one of the greatest histories the greatest races in history. Man against machine. What? 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 Well, I'm not going to bore you with the details of the race. But John Henry lost that race, and sure enough, he laid down his hammer and he died. Lord, Lord.
Over here. Well, they buried him in the sand.
Amen.
Right next to the old right-of-way.
Amen.
And every railroad man that would go by, he'd say, "Amen, John Henry. There lies a steel-driving man."
Amen, John Henry.
Amen.
Sing it, brother. In the hills of West Virginia, right around Big Bend Tunnel, they say there's a lot of little hammers running around town that look a lot like John Henry.
And honestly, the only reason why I bring it all up is because, I mean, John Henry's a really good example of how technology was going up against the guy who was gonna bring the hammer down. Okay, was gonna when when you pick up a hammer as a child, the entire world becomes a nail, right? Right? So cops carry hammer, put the hammer down. Yeah, I was kind of noticing, like, oh, wow, a lot of the parts of the song really go along with what I'm saying. Like, wow, that was cool. You know? Okay. Did they look stoned to you? They looked high as fuck to me, man. Those dudes look totally fucking high as shit on the Glen Campbell show. It's so much fun to look back and go, those people are high. Those people are stoned. Even if you don't look like at Laugh-In or Glen Campbell show or something like that, where everybody was at the 60s were so awesome. Everybody was discovering marijuana and free love and everything. But if you don't look at that, at least go and look at like some of the old stuff where they're just drunk. Match Game is famous. They'd have, 2 episodes. They'd film 2 episodes, right? They film one in the morning and they film one in the afternoon, like late afternoon after dinner. So by the time they'd had their dinner, they'd had drinks. And so they come back to the show and they're in a fucking good mood. Betty White and those guys, that was some of the funniest fucking episodes. Was when they were just everybody in my family in the living room was laughing. So, some of the shows where the old guys are a little bit stoned doing stuff is funny to watch, looking back on it. I just went, those guys are totally high. You can totally see they're high. Now the next one is a debunker. And that is debunking the whole Monsanto scare for marijuana. This comes from Snopes, right? And they debunked some other stuff recently too. They're doing a very good job. They're starting to take apart some of the false artifice of politics that we've had to conduct in order to win this fight. Sometimes we would have to put up scarecrows on both sides that were, research or arguments or conjecture just to move the argument forward or keep people off balance so we could get to the main objective. It wasn't necessarily to defeat the other people unfairly, but they're going to throw things in the air to dissuade people. So you got to pick off some of their crew too by offering stuff. So one of the things they offered was this ridiculous Monsanto scare, which I've heard a lot of people buy into. I'm more concerned with Monsanto in Mexico dealing with soybeans than I am with marijuana, frankly. Snopes.com. Monsantijuana. Rumor. Monsanto has created the world's first genetically modified strain of marijuana. shared 1.3 thousand times. I guess 3K, right? Okay. I read an article that Monsanto genetically modified marijuana. I'm wondering if you know of its factual or not origin. On April 9th, in 2015, the website World News Daily published an article reporting that uh, agribusiness giant Monsanto had created the world's first genetically modified strain of marijuana, a move indicative of expectations that the substance's use would soon be legalized throughout the U.S. Monsanto, the multi-billion-dollar agrobusiness giant, has announced today it has patented the first genetically modified strain of marijuana. Obviously, they're saying this is false. The news that has been welcomed by scientists and leaders of the agriculture business alike as a move forward towards the industrial use of marijuana and hemp products could bring a major shift towards marijuana policies in the U.S. and ultimately the world. Under present U.S. federal law, it is illegal to possess, use, buy, sell, or cultivate marijuana. Since the Controlled Substance Act of 1970 classified marijuana as a Schedule I drug, although it has been decriminalized to some extent in certain states, Monsanto insists in the field has been interpreted by experts as a precursor to a major shift in marijuana policy in the U.S., as it is believed the company would not have invested so much time and energy if it had not previous knowledge of the federal government's openness towards this future legalization of marijuana. Yeah, they always say that. They said that recently with another hoax story. Oh, this is obviously an indication that the government's going to legalize. Yeah, they always throw that one in. That's how that's your pain point, right? So they're playing to it. Although that article reads like an authentic news story, World News Daily report is a fake news site that does not publish actual stories. Previous fabricated articles from the same site include fictional stories about 200-million-year-old dinosaur eggs hatching and loggers cutting down the world's oldest tree. World News Daily Report's website includes a disclaimer stating that all articles included therein are satirical in nature and are meant for entertainment purposes only. And once again, somebody else gets suckered into it. And I've heard this Monsanto bullshit for a long time, and I'm like, Monsanto ain't doing fucking shit. Let me tell you about Monsanto. They fucking sponsored a ride at Disneyland, the Incredible Shrinking Machine or whatever, a Fantastic Voyage machine, and we used to use that fucking ride because I loved it to get high in, because they had these amazing like chairs, that you would ride in that had like a hood all around you, and then it would turn away from all the other chairs, so you would be facing an opposite direction of the two other chairs near you. Perfect time to take a hit, you know. Then the thing drags you into the next scene in the next room, and you get pulled away from the marijuana smoke. We used to run to that ride when it was time to get stoned again. Okay, let's go. We run, we get on the thing, we'd wait till after, the eyeball guy went by in the microscope going, they're getting smaller. I can see ice crystals. Soon a fucking ice crystal talk starts, boom, you fucking get that pipe out, load it, start hitting that pipe. I timed it. You got time between two people for about 2 to 3 hits if you really push it 4, So Monsanto was the ones that sponsored that ride. We'd go running off of that ride. I knew there were pictures or some shit like that in the lobby of farming stuff. I don't know what the hell it was. But I ignored it. Who the fuck cares about that shit? Back on the ride. Monsanto sponsored that shit so they could get some advertising. Do you think I paid any goddamn attention to that? I didn't know it was Monsanto sponsored till years later when I looked up the ride because I was like, I had no idea that was sponsored by Monsanto. Yeah. Because who the fuck cares about them? Now on to my guitar. So my brother finished last night late. He said his hands really hurt from working on the guitar, and it was a pain in the ass because they had to put silver foil tape behind, aluminum foil tape behind the electronics for the new pick guard and inside the pockets where all the electronics go. And I guess there was some touching and shorting they had to figure out. This is why I don't like fucking with electronic systems. I mean, I'll do it. I'll rewire a fan or a lamp or something like that, but I have made, like, working on the car, I have made cables accidentally smoke and burn off all the plastic. Using the wrong gauge wire or something. So I am not that sure of myself when it comes to electronics. So I'm glad I turned it over to them. And it's all trial and error for all of us. We like doing this stuff, and we kind of like going and trying to teach ourselves how to do stuff like this. It's fun, Okay, so the other thing was, he sent me pictures last night. He hasn't brought it over yet. But he sent me pictures last night, and then my brother Richard tested it on Rocksmith, and he said, yeah, it totally works. He said the bends are a little bit of a bitch because the frets on the neck need to be polished a little bit to allow more you to do this with the bends with the string. So I'm going to show you some pictures of the entire project, and hopefully I'll play some of this Rocksmith video and it won't get me totally blocked on YouTube, because they really freak out about, you can't even play a tiny little bit. It's all copyright music. So if it doesn't work, I'll try to cut that out and repost it. YouTube's a pain in the fucking ass. They need to knock it off with this copyright shit. Nobody's coming to my fucking channel to somehow see Rihanna's new video and take eyeballs away from your advertisers. I don't even have advertisers, asshole. Okay, I'm an old lady. There's like 11 people watching. Knock it the fuck off with their, block in all the countries. Like somebody in another country gives a fuck about me. Come on, knock it off. OBKB, so that's my show for today. Wednesday, the 20th of July. Coral Reefer had a wonderful video recently where she was talking about whether or not she was going to leave the internet and YouTube, and what she wanted her show to look like in the future, and how she didn't want to number things and stuff like that. And I think that she goes, it's interesting being your own boss. You forget that you can change the way you do things. Yes, you can. You can just walk away. You can do whatever you want. But remember that when you do that, you have to rebuild an audience. I've had to do it a couple of times now. I had a lot of people following me about guns and backpacks and knives and all this kind of stuff because I really enjoyed that community, and I had a lot of very interesting conversations and nice pleasantries, and they're very nice people when you're not talking about stupid fucking politics and dumbass fucking, Obama and all this kind of shit. But the minute you step into that, it's a fucking nightmare of stupidity. You know, but if you just talk to them about their camper or their gun, or that looks like a nice, tent, or your dog is sweet, it's amazing how the conversations are quite pleasant. But when they get into the ridiculous politics bullshit, then it gets really ugly. So when I came out as a marijuana smoker, which I did not do before, I purposely hid it for many years, very carefully. When I came out as a marijuana smoker, I just went headlong into this thing. And I began to number my shows because I knew this is a race. This is a marathon. I'm in a marathon. This is a news fucking marathon, and I'm gonna beat their fucking ass. I'm gonna beat their fucking ass. They're gonna learn. People on the internet can talk back to the goddamn television and the goddamn newspapers. That is not a one-way funnel into my goddamn life. And you're gonna find out, pal. I don't care if I have to help people close every goddamn newspaper on this planet. You're gonna find out. You ain't the only thing on earth that can talk a bunch of bullshit. Other people can do it too. And I used to hear all this shit about you can't fight people that can buy ink by the barrel. Oh yeah? Here's the internet. I don't use one drop of ink. All I need is time. It's sweat equity over here, and I got plenty of that. And I work for free. You bitches gotta have vacations and shit. You gotta take breaks. You after a big game on the weekend, you gotta come in a little bit slower on Monday, and I don't. I never come in slow. Well, it may not be true. But I try not to come in slow. I think the number of my show count shows I have extreme endurance. I remember one of my bosses literally writing in my review that Kelly never gives up, because they try to do things to try to kind of push me out of the job because they would have liked the dude. Kelly never gives up. Ever. So that's why I did my show. And will it change in the future? Yeah, it already has like 3 times now. You can do whatever the fuck you want. And then you just reinvent yourself, you rebuild your audience, and the audience that you built and love and adore can either follow you into this new thing, or they can go find other people. But it doesn't mean you're not friends anymore or something like that. It's just like if somebody said, okay, I love you guys, but I'm going on a hiatus for a year to France to study painting. What would you say? Don't leave me? No, you'd say, good for you, enjoy your time. This is an opportunity for me to go off and find someone else to relate to and expand my horizons in my friendship circle. So when, like, Freddie shut down his show, good. That gives him a chance to recoup. He can reinvent himself, and so can we. Because doesn't it start to get a little dogged and dragged out if you keep trying to pound away just for the sake of pounding? I don't know that this would have been as much fun if it wasn't so difficult, and if I didn't have an actual goal to head to. I wasn't even sure in 2010 if we would get another chance to legalize. And then after Colorado did, I knew we would get another chance to legalize. This has all been preparation for a marathon towards a political goal that I am very determined to get accomplished. That's what the numbers and the dates represent. Doesn't have to represent that for everybody else. And it may not always for me. But right now, this is literally a countdown. Okay, so that's my show, and I'll let you go, and la la la. And you stay high and goodbye. And I can't wait till my brother brings my guitar over so I can try it. It's going to be a lot of fun. And he says it's kind of like weird to get used to. They had to cut the horn because you couldn't get your hand in there. It blocks, even my hand couldn't get in there for the frets. So I could totally see what he's talking about. Because you don't want to have something, if you're trying to get up to that fret, you don't want to have to hit a horn with your hand. Oh shit, try to jam it in a little tiny space. It's, that's what the cutout is for, is to allow you that access. So hopefully that would help. But we're not like That body was a fucking hard rock. That thing was very difficult to cut. With just hand tools, you know, that was really hard. That's why his hands hurt. So we got the best shape out of it we possibly could with the hand tools that we had. Especially him. He did all the body work and everything. I helped him do some sanding and held shit down. And then Richard, my other brother, helped him to figure out the wiring because Richard's the ultimate critic. He's also the best one out of us who plays guitar. Is this thing dying? We're still new, though. He was playing guitar in that video. Okay. So now I'm stoned, and I'm going to go take a shower and get dressed and do a little more straightening up. I got a whole pile of camping gear over here I have to pick up. Put in the garage somewhere. So I'll see you tomorrow. Adios.